Everything has to be explained. And if it takes you, still to this date, now it's not working like it used to, but at one point the best letter I had was a 66-page letter. And they had the highest return of orders. We had close to a 15.5% order ratio for a period of time on a $500 to $700 product with a 66-page sales letter. Now it dropped for other reasons, but so nobody's going to tell me that there's too long a copy. I just read yesterday that one of the big publishing companies that sends out all those magalogs, and you probably all know who they are, they financial newsletters, and they have they've been testing a 128-page book sales letter. It's a paperback book, and it's beating the magalog enough that they're rolling out 600,000 of them on this one particular newsletter. They tested 25,000, and the 128-page book beat the 20-page magalog. And you guys have all seen those magalogs. They're like fake magazines that people used to think were magazines, but now everybody knows they're not anymore. But I wasn't surprised to read that. A 30-minute spot will usually do better than a 1-minute spot in TV. So keep that in mind. You've got to tell the whole story.
Jeff, can I ask you why you trim down your page?
Why do we trim down the pages?
Right. You say you did it for some other reason. What was it? You reduce your number of pages.
Oh, well, when the long letter, the question was, why do we reduce the pages? When the long letter stopped working as well as it was, we tested, maybe there was a change, in the particular case we're talking about, there was a change in the market. There was an outside influence that had nothing to do with what we were doing, but it affected the market. So I had to change the letter to reflect the new reality of that marketplace, and I didn't have as much to say about the new reality as I did about the old reality. So, there's no reason, I don't think make things longer or shorter just to make them longer or shorter. I just try to get it as complete as I can. And a lot of things I was saying in the old letter weren't relevant anymore because things had changed to the point where the relevance was gone and a lot of the copy didn't make sense anymore. Does that make sense? You must tell the truth. H. I know this sounds a little stupid, but you got to tell the truth. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. But I think I need to remind people that you must be believable is a little bit different than you must tell the truth. Believable and the truth are not necessarily the same. So you could tell the truth and be unbelievable, okay? Or you could be unbelievable and not be telling the truth. To sum up that point, you must be believable. We'll have people tell us. I talked to a prospect yesterday in the office, and they said the thing we hear quite often, which is, this sounds too good to be true. Now, we're telling the truth, but it's a big clue to me that maybe I need to change the copy because people they're thinking it's too good to be true. It's not believable. And if you're not believable, you won't have any success. So we're going to stop right here for about 30 seconds. Okay, so next thing.
Can I interrupt
yes.
on that point? I got comments just like what you just mentioned, saying, it sounds like too good, or you sound like the midnight show. Those people try to sell me the real estate program. And I gave them the impression, and the end result was they say I was too slick, so they don't buy.
Right. So again, the comment was that he had people in to response to his piece saying that it sounds too good to be true. It doesn't, it doesn't sound believable. It's too much hype or whatever. And we'll talk about how to address that in a couple minutes. But basically, if you're not believable and you're telling the truth, that means your copy has to be changed. You don't change your truth. You just change the copy, or which we'll talk about in a few minutes. You address that in your objections in the letter, saying something like, "Now, a lot of you may think this is too good to be true. Now, let's explain why that. I understand why you would think that, but let's talk about why it is reality. Take a look at our testimonials that you'll see enclosed in the package, or whatever it is, but you can address that, and you'll see we gave you a copy of a sales letter. We'll go through quickly where we do that, because that's an objection that you're going to probably run into if you really have a good offer. It may sound too good to be true. Okay, but again, the truth and believability. Everybody understand the difference between truth and believability? Because they're really two separate issues completely. You must overcome inertia and sloth. This is a real hard one. Your prospects are sitting there not interested in what you have to say, usually, until you got their attention. And then even if you go through this whole exercise of getting their attention and then getting them interested and getting them desirous of whatever it is you have, action. Okay, inertia is the scientific principle that a body at rest, a physical object that's at rest tends to remain at rest, And a object in motion tends to remain in motion unless acted upon by some outside influence. So this is unless acted upon by some outside influence. You are the outside influence. Okay, so if this slothful, inertia-filled person is sitting there on their couch and they get their mail and whatever, and all of a sudden there's your letter in there that they asked for or they didn't ask for, I mean, you've got a lot of things you got to overcome. You got to get them to open. First of all, you got to get them to not throw out the envelope, which we'll get into a little bit later. They have to open the envelope. They have to actually unfold your letter if it's folded up, and then they have to read it. They have to physically turn the page. This is tough stuff. Okay, a lot of people ask me, why do you write go to next page at the end of the page? I learned that from Gary Halbert years ago. I do it because it works and because people need to be told to go to the next page. Now, I had one lady one time tell me I insulted her intelligence because she said, well, you know, I couldn't, she called because she was so irritated that we had go to next page to tell me how irritated we made her. And I said, well, I'm sorry. I go, a lot of people don't know what to do at the end of the page, so we tell them what to do. Don't think, I mean, you know, obviously she wasn't a good prospect for my stuff, but that is not something that you take lightly. You've got to overcome inertia and sloth, and most people, I don't care what country you're in either, because we'll talk about Australia and Canada. It doesn't matter where you go. People don't do anything unless some outside influence moves them to do something, and you are it, the outside influence. So always keep that in mind, that is this going to get somebody to get off the couch? Clarity is more important than vocabulary. This is something I was teaching the kids yesterday. We were talking about, I had 3 dogs, they died. And then he said, Lily or whatever, and I said, well, who's Lily? He said, well, that's my new dog. I said, okay, but in your copy, you need to say that my new dog is Lily before you start talking about Lily. And he said, well, everybody would, this is the kid telling me, he's 8 years old, everybody would know Lily's my new dog. So now everybody wouldn't know Lily's your new dog because she just was introduced in your story without having any context. So even at the 8-year-old level, I have to explain this, and we have to explain this to people that are 58 and everything in all ages, everybody writing copy. You must be precise and clear. You have to be totally clear. You can't assume anybody knows anything. You can't assume, when I say clarity is more important than vocabulary, I'm going to give you an example. Rick knows what I'm talking about. I wrote a letter to a guy about something, and I said, in lieu of da 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 da, which probably most of you are familiar with the phrase in lieu of, which also means instead of. And I wrote that word. It didn't even faze me, because I'd used it so many times. And then I got a call from the person, and the deal we were working on almost got killed because he thought that I was and then I explained what I was saying in lieu of. I explained what the in lieu of was, and that what I was proposing. Well, he thought I was asking for both things because he didn't know what in lieu of meant. Okay, and then he was very upset when he called me because verbally we had discussed that I was not going to ask for the one thing and I was going to ask for the other thing, and in my confirming memo I was confirming that in lieu of this I'm going to be asking for this. Well, that one word almost cost a deal that turned out to be a very lucrative deal. Fortunately, he called me up. He didn't have to call me up. It could have killed the deal. So whenever you think you're being clear and precise, don't think you're being so clear and precise. Take a look at what you're writing from a clarity standpoint. Is everybody understand what this means? And everybody meaning that you go down to maybe an 8 or 9-year-old level when you're, if my sons can understand things. I mean, as a quick example, we were testing a headline for something that we were doing that was new. I wrote a few headlines and I show them to my wife and Jill and other people as we try to figure out which headlines to test. And my 11-year-old saw the headlines laying out on the counter. We had a whole, I always lay out, not always, but most of the time lay out all the headlines all over the place, and we try to pick the right headlines. And my 11-year-old looked at a bunch of headlines and said, he goes, these suck. He goes, this one's good right here. And I said, why do they suck? And he said, well, I don't know what they mean. This one I understood exactly what it meant. I said, okay, good. And that's the one we went with. So don't think that you're being clear. It's big words. Believe me, I will never use in lieu of again in anything I ever do. I promise you. Which ties to the next thing. Writing down will catch the most sales. Lower yourself. Get down there. Get down to that 8th grade or less level of communication. If any of you watch an evening news show at 10 or 11, wherever your local news is, and the way they communicate, I mean, it's, my little kids can understand the evening news. Usually, anything that's successful, and we'll show examples in a minute, is You have to write down. Okay, that means you use very simple words, and everyone's the same. We're all humans. This is another very, very unwavering rule. I still hear this from everybody, that you don't understand. My market is different. Now, this could be a geographic description of why the market's different. It could be a demographic description. I have a company that I'm involved in Australia where we're doing this direct marketing, and the techniques that we use in Australia, and I have another guy that I have a friendly relationship with down there who's doing extremely well selling information products in Australia, and his copy is exactly like the copy we use here. They use different words, they spell things differently, but the formulas are the same in Canada. We're just starting something. We just signed a deal last week. We're going to be testing a new thing in England. But I'll tell you, people are people. Even my wife will tell me she's got a new project she's working on, and she tells me, you don't understand. The women are different. They won't respond to the whatever, da-da-da. So, and of course, I never argue with my wife, so I'm just going to let her learn it on her own or whatever. But everybody's exactly the same. Exactly. Now, within a wide range of parameters, now specific details of your target audience will change, but not human behavior. Human behavior never changes. Okay, the 4 questions you must have a damn good answer to. This came from a guy named Maxwell Sackheim, who was the fellow that invented the Book of the Month Club. You'll see a couple of his ads. This guy was in direct marketing for 75 years. He passed away in the 80s, but he was in 75 years in direct marketing. And he invented a lot of things that we all take as standard back before any of us were around. And these are the questions that he always asked. And Dan Kennedy suggested that you take these 4 questions and put them up on your desk, right in front of your desk, and everything you're doing. First question: why should your targeted prospects read or listen to you? Can you answer that question? Why should your targeted prospects read or listen to you? That's a good question. Because you think that you have something that's interest to them? I don't think so. Okay, think about this very carefully. Next question: why should your target prospects believe what you have to say? I mean, these days, now he wrote these 4 rules back like 50 years ago. Can you think of a more skeptical society? I mean, there's no way it could be more skeptical and this isn't just U.S. I'm telling you, it's the same in Australia. The guy in England I'm talking to says it's just as bad there. Everywhere, everybody is skeptical of everything, with good reason, because just about everything we've been taught is wrong, and everything that we believed in has been proven to be untrustworthy and so forth. So, why should anybody believe anything you have to say? Next, why should your targeted prospects do anything about what you're offering? Why should your target prospects do anything about what you're offering? Because you need the money? That's not a good reason, usually. In the financial businesses, people will make financial transactions because they got to make a car payment, but they have a little different. They have the people's money; they can move around. You guys don't have that luxury. Okay, so if you want to get something, you have to think, why should they do anything about it? And last and not least, why should they act now? See, one of the things about response is that they have to respond the sooner the better. We're still getting responses a year after people ask for information. That's fine, but if we had to wait a year for all the responses, we wouldn't be doing too good. So what's going to get them off their butts? You ask yourself these questions. If you can't answer these questions, then don't finish. The piece isn't ready to go out yet.
Jim, you asked a question on expiration date. We put in the expiration date like it's told, and as people started to recognize that, well, expiration date really doesn't mean a whole lot because you're going to send me another piece of mail later anyway. Do you see the trend of we are losing that urgency to buy based on expiration date? Okay,
well, the question about it, is the expiration date, necessary, and do people get like blasé about it because you're going to be mailing them subsequent? All I can tell you is we've been doing it for 4 years since we started using the expiration dates, and the results have picked up in general a lot because of expiration dates. The subsequent mailings don't refer to the expiration date anymore after the expiration date, but in general, we get a lot of people that call up and say, today's October 6th and my deadline is today. I want to get this going because I don't want to not have the free gifts and all the other stuff. I mean, you'd be amazed at how it pushes people up. It's giving them a reason to act, and there's lots of other reasons you can get people to act, but In general, again, you could test your expiration dates. You could test it without the expiration dates and see what happens. Our tests without expiration dates don't work as good as the ones with expiration dates. So that's all I can tell you. Okay, next we're going to step back in time a little bit here. On 5A on the next page, it says circa 1880s. This is one of the most profound statements I ever heard. When I told Dan about it, Dan Kennedy agreed. A guy named Thomas J. Barrett of Pear Soap, he bought Pear Soap in the 1880s. And he made what I think is probably the most profound statement about business there is. Any fool can make soap. It takes a clever man to sell it. Now today we'd have to say a clever person, but I'm using his direct quote. Any fool can make soap. It takes a clever man to sell it. And I want you to really think about this, because products are a dime a dozen, ideas are a dime a dozen. To sell something, it takes cleverness. And my definition of cleverness is understanding human psychology. So that's where I came in. Now this guy was very, very clever, and Pear Soap at the time was the #1 leading brand of soap until Ivory took over later on. Now we're going to start looking at some ads here. You can go to your other packet. Just take a quick look. This is an ad from 1903. And if you look at this here, this lady's name is Susanna Cockcroft, I guess is how you say that. And her headline is, "Are you too thin?" For only 15 minutes a day, practice in your own room upon special exercises I will give you, you can be round, plump, wholesome, rested, and attractive. Now, anybody think this would be a good appeal today? Did this work pretty good? Okay. Nature intended you to be, why should you not? The following are extracts from the weekly reports of my pupils. Just think, Miss Cockcroft, I've gained 25 pounds. Now, isn't that a great testimonial for today's environment? Please do not even thank me for interesting my friends in your work. It is happiness to show my appreciation for restored health. Here's a good one. My bust, neck, and chest have filled out beautifully, and I carry myself like another woman. Okay? You've done more for me than doctors have done in 20 years. My constipation is relieved. My nerves are so rested, and indigestion is all gone. So it's pretty nice to talk about constipation in your marketing. I bring this up for a lot of reasons. We're going to go through a bunch of ads here. First of all, headline. Okay, in that marketplace at that time, guessing from reading the copy that she understood her market very closely, was that women wanted to be, quote, round, plump, wholesome, rested, and attractive. So "Are you too thin?" would be a headline that would fit into that. And if being thin was bad, like today, you would just simply say, "Are you too fat?" Of course, you probably couldn't say that. You would say, "Are you weight challenged?" or something. But "Are you too thin?" Look at this headline. It's got a headline. She's got only 15 minutes a day, practicing room special exercises. The copy, you can read through it yourself. And at the end, I will cheerfully tell you about my work, and if I cannot help your particular case, I will tell you my information and advice are entirely free. And then she wrote a book called Character as Expressed in the Body, Etc. I don't know what that book was about, but it sounds kind of interesting. But again, a couple reasons I bring this up. Number one, we'll go into why these are good ads. But secondly, and much more importantly, you can see that she's targeting it on her message. She's got testimonials. All the things that she got your attention. Are you too thin? And she got your interest because only 15 minutes a day I can make you, quote, round, plump, wholesome, rested, and attractive. Nature intended you to be so. Why should you not? Then she goes into the desire. The testimonials are building up believability and making you want her thing. And then she's built up thousands of women. Why not you? You'll be so much more attractive and so much better satisfied with yourself. And then she tells you to act, to contact her, and that her information and advice are entirely free. So she's giving you a reason to act. Pretty good advertising for somebody who probably never studied advertising.
What year was that?
1903. Okay. Number C, George Rowell was a guy who was a patent medicine in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Advertising really got its start from a lot of charlatans who were. There's no ad for this particular one in item C. I'm just going to read this to you. Patent medicine, which some of you may or may not know, is they had herbal things, or it was mostly just like alcohol with sugar water or whatever. And but the advertising was pretty good. And this guy in 1865 said, "You must write your advertisements to catch damn fools, not college professors. then you'll catch as many college professors as you will with any other sort. Okay, does everybody understand what he was saying there 130 years ago? That if you write your advertisements down and be clear in communicating, you'll catch as many college professors as you will with any other sort. In other words, the college professor analytical type will get interested in low-brow copy, but if you write highbrow copy, you won't get anybody. Okay, and this guy was 1865. I just bring these things up because I want to tell you there's nothing I'm telling you here that's new. I didn't make any of this stuff up. I'm just repeating what I've learned and hoping you guys will be able to repeat it for yourselves. Believe me, I'm not that smart. Next one. You make these mistakes in English. This ad, which you have all these in your kit, and hopefully you can read them. This was one of the most famous ads. This was the Maxwell Sackheim guy I was referring to. Sherwin Cody's remarkable invention has enabled more than 100,000 people to correct their mistakes in English. Only 15 minutes a day required to improve your speech and writing. Seems like that 15 minutes a day thing was pretty popular back in the old day. This ad was, I think, around 1910, I think it was during World War I, actually, when this ad first came out. I'm not going to read these all. You can look at these ads later, but again, I want you, do you make these mistakes in English? The headline is very, very catchy. By the way, any of these headlines and all of these headlines that we're talking about here can be used and modified for your own purposes. For example, if you were marketing to somebody who was in the computer field, do you make these mistakes with your programming? Or to somebody who was in exercise, do you make these mistakes with your diet or weight training? I mean, you can use now one of the key things that Maxwell Sackheim talked about was the word these mistakes. This is a very clever use in the headline because if he said, do you make mistakes in English, it's not the same as do you make these mistakes in English. I mean, you know why is that different? Brian, you look like you're wide awake.
These makes you go into the copy because you want to know what these are. If it just said do you make mistakes, it's a yes or no question.
Right, thank you. I'll repeat it. Brian said that if you just say do you make mistakes in English, it's just a yes or no question. It's not interesting. But do you make these mistakes in English, it compels you to go into the copy. And if you look at the first paragraph, many persons use such expressions as leave them lay there, and Mary was invited as well as myself. Still others say between you and I. Now he's giving you these mistakes right at the beginning of his copy. He's trying to suck you into the copy. We'll talk more about that later. This ad ran for 40 years before they pulled it. 40 years. So we're also going to talk a little bit about subheads. Why most people make mistakes. What Cody did at Gary. 100% self-correcting device. Only 15 minutes a day. Free book on English. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. It's called the second readership path. If you read just the subheads, it would get you into the coupon anyway, even if you didn't read one word of the copy. And I was going to tell you how people read things. A lot of people scan things. They don't read them. And when you scan, you better have subheads. We'll talk about that more. But I just want to show you an example of some really good subheads. Now this picture of Sherwin Cody up here may or may not add to the usefulness of the ad. I don't know. I tend to have found in a lot of cases pictures don't help in advertising unless it's about a product or there's a specific reason why the picture's there to amplify. But in general, the ads that I've had the best luck with do not have any graphics of any kind, pictures included. Because in this case, I don't know if that helps or not to the copy. But I just want to show you this because it'll help us in some of the stuff we're talking about later. The next one. Would you give $1 for 16 dancing lessons if, and then there's a line there, which today we'd probably use ... instead of the line. Well, the reason that was done, of course, was if what? And then you're learning to become a popular dancer. You made you so popular, everyone will be anxious to have you attend their social affairs. And if learning to dance the Murray way gave you poise, ease, self-confidence, and helped develop your personality, would you be willing to pay $1 for 16 dancing lessons from America's foremost authority on social dancing? That's a long sentence. But it's got a message. I don't know today if this message would work. I don't know if any of you are interested in learning ballroom dancing from Arthur Murray. But the question and the way this ad is laid out, again, this is a single column of copy. There's another picture up there of who I'm guessing is Arthur Murray. They don't have a caption. By the way, if you do use a picture, you have to have a caption or an illustration. Don't ever put like this picture here of him. Really should have, if it's like the other one said Sherwin Cody, you should put a caption underneath it. Don't assume people know what they're looking at or why it's there. We're testing an ad right now for this course. As you may know, the course is called How to Make $4,000 a Day from Your Kitchen Table Sitting in Your Underwear. We've been testing, and somewhat successfully so, we put a picture in the ad of me sitting at my kitchen table in my underwear, and then the caption says Jeff sitting at his kitchen table in his underwear making $4,000 a day. So we didn't leave it up to the readers' knowledge that they would know what that picture was. We put a caption there explaining what the picture was. And our test results have been coming back that in some cases it's actually lifted the response by having the picture there versus not having the picture there. But you don't need big ads to get good response. You can see here a smaller third of the page ad. Okay, this ad is from the late 1800s. This is out of a book I got, so ignore the text, but The Mysteries of Lovemaking Solved, or An Easy Road to Marriage. That's a good headline. Okay, I mean, there isn't too many people that aren't going to want to, and you know what, this was over 120 years ago when this ad was run. There's people out there right now, there's that guy, I can't think of his name on the infomercial guy who's selling the, you know who I'm talking about? No, the guy who's selling, yeah, Gary Smalley. Right, he's got basically the same pitch, 120 years later. And the other lady, Barbara DeAngelis, who's had a top infomercial, Making Love Work, The Mysteries of Love Making Solved. Any similarity in her pitch? Again, you can read the copy if you want. Now there's a picture where it does help the ad, probably because that image of this wonderfully blissful couple hugging each other and smiling and all that, that probably adds to the impact of the ad. In this case, I would say it probably helped, although I don't have any idea if they tested it without pictures, but there's an example. And then The Secrets of Lovemaking. Now, by the way, in this time frame, lovemaking doesn't mean what it means today. It actually meant being in love with somebody. I'll show you some stuff later that it's a little different, but it was a different meaning, but it still has the same overall effect. Now, The Mystery of Lovemaking Solved, An Easy Road to Marriage, 120 years ago. A lot of why I'm showing you this stuff is because I really want you guys to understand that nothing that I'm talking to you about here is anything new or different. And I want to really demonstrate the unwavering nature of human beings. I know, because we're going to talk about headlines. Get plump. Loring's Fat 10U and Corpula Foods make the thin, plump, and comely and impart vim to the debilitated. They cool the blood and prevent unpleasant perspiration. Is that a headline or what? This ad was from also in the late 1800s. Now, this picture, I doubt whether that picture, I mean, to me it looks like Nicole Brown Simpson, but I just don't think it looks like she's got beat up. It's just not a great picture. I wasn't sure what they were trying to do with that picture. Maybe that's how people wanted people to look in those days. I don't know. But if you look through here, these foods cure nerve and brain exhaustion, which you know is general debility or nervous prostration. Does anybody even know what prostration is? They make pale folks pink and thin folks plump, and weak folks well, and despairing folks happy. Okay, I won't read the rest of it, but and it says the portrait above of Miss Sarah Montgomery in Vincennes Avenue, Chicago, who writes, in 6 weeks, Loring's Fat 10U and Corpula have increased my weight 32 pounds. Okay, so Susan Powder wouldn't do, and Richard Simmons wouldn't do good in the late 1800s. But again, look, I want you to look at this so you could see what the appeals are that work. Now, here's one, an exact opposite from just a slight time after. In fact, it's the same company. Same stuff. Reduced 33 pounds by Dr. Edison's obesity remedies. Dr. Edison's obesity pills, fruit salt, reducing compound, and band will make you think thin before the season advances. They improve the health and form. Okay.
I wonder if they sent that to their customer list.
Yes, look at this. Relief for the fat. Okay, that's a subhead under this rather corpulent-looking person. Relief for the fat. And then they show you a picture there of, now here's an example. Dr. Edison's obesity and supporting band should be used by fleshy men and women. His supporting band by all women in a weak condition. And then he's got a picture with some numerical things on the side there kind of illustrating this band, I guess, kind of what you might see in a patent application. But again, this company's in Chicago. I don't know if they're still in business. We should look them up. But they have at the bottom here, cut this out and send for our new 24-column paper, How to Cure Obesity. Okay, lead generation from 1890. People understood, and this is a 24-column. I don't know exactly what that means, but here's a good one. I think this is a John Caples ad, I think. Here's an extra $50, Grace. I'm making real underlying money now. Okay, yes, I've been keeping a secret till payday came. I've been promoted with an increase of $50 a month. And the first extra money is yours. Just a little reward for urging me to study at home. The boss says my spare time training has made me a valuable man to the firm, and there's more money coming soon. We're up Easy Street, Grace, thanks to you and ICS. ICS is still in business. It's an international correspondence school, and Dan does some work for them, actually. Dan Kennedy. They've been around way over 100 years. This ad was probably from right around World War I era. But again, this picture does kind of amplify the fact he's handing her over. You can't tell from the overhead, but hopefully you can see it. He's handing her some cash. Now you'd have to say, here's an extra $5,000, Grace. I'm making real money now, but it'd still have the same. You still have the same basic concept. Okay, and I believe that was a lead generation ad. Okay, now here's another one. Now here there's an illustration at the top and it has a caption. Can he really play? A girl whispered. Heavens no, Arthur exclaimed. He's never played a note in his life. So here the illustration, you see this guy about to sit down on the piano and you see these people laughing at him with her whispering in his ear. I mean, that's an illustration that probably does very well to help the headline, which is they laughed when I sat down at the piano, but when I started to play, and again, they used the line in those days. Today we'd say ... One of the best ads I ever ran was they laughed when I ran that little $40 ad, but when I got 81 leads, ... And then it goes into a story about this guy who was tired of advertising that didn't work, and he used the system that we teach, and he got 81 leads the first time, which was a true story. One of our customers relayed, but again, there's a very important thing going on here with this ad. You look at the subheads. See, if you just read this, then I started to play, how I learned to play without a teacher, play any instrument, send for our free booklet and demonstration lesson. So you can follow that path on the subheads. And this is written in a story form, and we're asking about stories before. Most people do not use stories in advertising. In the old days, they did a lot. I still use stories very, very frequently in the advertising, as opposed to an explanation ad. Stories. I have some ads that are pure stories. We have one headline that we used quite successfully. It was called "The Diary of a Frustrated Agent," and I got that headline from one that was a 1903 headline. That was "The Diary of a Frustrated Woman." Excuse me, "The Diary of a Lonely Woman," and it had this story about this woman. So I took the headline and changed it to what I was selling, and the whole thing is a diary of this agent's life, and then it leads up to them asking for the free information. Stories are very, very important in copy. We'll talk a little bit more about it later. But this type of a headline adapted to anything. And this is John Caples. That was his biggest upfront success. This is an ad from the 40s. I think 1946 was this one. This is to people who want to write but can't get started. Do you have that constant urge to write, but the fear that a beginner hasn't the chance? And then there's room for more newcomers in the field than ever before. And solves 4 articles, beginning of course, writing aptitude test free, and mail the coupon now. Veterans is course approved for veterans training. 1947, excuse me, is when this ad was published. But again, you'll notice it's got all the right elements, attention, interest, desire, action. And you notice the older ads, most of them had coupons. Now this was before 800 numbers. These days, some people test coupons versus not coupons and find that there's not much of a difference. You know, with 800 numbers, you can sometimes eliminate the coupon, although we've done some things with coupons. But this, again, a time-tested method. And I want you to study these ads. The reason I'm giving you all these, because I really want you to study these very closely. The next two here were side-by-side pages. Oh, I'm sorry, this one is 10,000 Helps to Be Your Own Boss in this big book. 10,000 Ideas, Secrets, and Formulas. If it's results you want, get action quickly with these practical ideas. And the copy's kind of small, you can read it. Fortunes Made from a Single Idea. And this was a direct sale for a $3.50 book from Adam Brown Company in Massachusetts. I think this ad was from the 40s also. I don't remember off the top of my head. But again, I want you to, 10,000 Helps to Be Your Own Boss in this big book. The BizOp market included Pitchman's Guide, easily made big profit items that go fast with crowds at fairs, carnivals, etc. $25 net daily, not exceptional. You guys think the BizOp market's changed much? Okay, this is a series of ads. We gave you a couple pages of these. These are just, I'm not going to read all these. How you can build a mighty body. Big money now in liquid marble. We want to get into liquid marble BizOp. Stammer, question mark. Start home mail order business. Books found free. Atomic Power in War and Peace. Secrets of locksmithing. Learn at home how to mount birds. Patent and trademarks. Get into good paying auto body and fender work. Learn profitable profession in 90 days at home. Again, we're showing you these because this is from the 40s. And just look at all these headlines. You guys have a literal, I mean, the stuff I'm giving you here, the reason I did all this is I want you guys to, you have an entire encyclopedia here in this little thing we gave you of headlines and body copy that you could use forever. The reason I'm telling you all this is what I do. I study this stuff, I find these things, I buy these books, I have people look for books for me. I've got a mountain of old marketing and advertising stuff, and I selected different things I thought were some the best ones for you, because if you guys just copy these ideas here in your own stuff, you'll probably have a great deal of success. And like this page here alone is more valuable to me than a 4-year college education. How to get along in this world. Put yourself in this picture. Success. Cure self-consciousness.